Smoke rose from the cratered battlefield like incense from a war god's altar. The air stung with ozone and ash. Explosions rumbled across the plains of Durith 9 as bodies, both human and alien, lay still in the mud and frost. No one was supposed to be alive near the center, no one sane at least, but he was there. Wood vaulted over a twisted husk of a war machine, panting, his blood-spattered visor cracked. His pulse echoed through his skull, but his focus was iron-locked on the impossible sight in front of him. Princess Sarah, daughter of the Zalari Empress, heir to one of the most feared empires in the galaxy, was on her knees in the mud, her sapphire battle armor cracked and her violet skin stained with blood. Her cat-like eyes blazed with fury, but she was cornered. Her elite guards lay dead. Her aura flickered. Around her, even the most hardened soldiers of both sides had drawn back. The rumor of her power and uncontrollable psychic force tied to her bloodline was enough to make even generals hesitate. One wrong move and she could level a city, or melt minds, or worse, but not Wood. "Hey!" he barked, marching forward with his rifle lowered. "You dead, alien princess?" Sarah's eyes narrowed dangerously. Her lips curled. "Do you have a death wish, human?" "Every damn day," he replied, and offered his hand. "But I'm not here to kill you." The entire battlefield seemed to hold its breath. Even the storm above froze in time. Sarah stared at him, studying the madness behind his courage. Then, against every protocol, every survival instinct, she reached out and gripped his hand. Their fingers locked. Behind them, someone shouted, "He's touching her? Is he insane?" Wood smirked and pulled her to her feet. "Let's get out of this hellhole, princess. Your war's not over, and neither is mine." The rain began to fall, cold, acidic droplets hissing off armor and metal. Wood didn't flinch. He kept a firm grip on Princess Sarah's arm as they moved between the smoldering wreckage of downed crafts and bloody banners. The war hadn't ended, but in that moment, something had shifted. For the first time, an alien and a human were fleeing the battlefield side by side, not as enemies, but something else entirely. Sarah limped, pride forcing her upright despite the pain. Her violet skin shimmered in the rain, bruised and streaked with dried blood. "You shouldn't have touched me," she muttered. "If the council finds out—" "Council's not my problem," Wood cut her off, scanning the ridge ahead. "I don't follow rules, especially not stupid ones." She stopped, forcing him to turn. "You don't understand," she said, chest rising and falling. "The Zalari don't forgive touch between bloodlines, especially between species. You've made yourself a target. You'll be hunted." He met her stare, unblinking. "So? I already was." A beat passed, then a faint smile touched her lips, bitter, curious, maybe even amused. They made it to a half-buried escape pod beneath a collapsed transport. Inside, sparks flickered from exposed wires, and the air smelled of ozone and fried circuits. Wood shoved aside debris and powered the auxiliary systems with a booted kick. The lights buzzed on. Sarah hesitated before stepping inside. She studied him again, as if trying to understand why this human, of all the brutal ones she'd seen in war, wasn't running from her, but toward her. "You saved me," she said quietly. "Why?" Wood looked up from the console. "Because I saw you bleeding, alone. That makes you a person, not a monster." Silence stretched between them. Then the ship shook, sensor alarms howling. "They've found us," Sarah whispered. Wood grabbed his rifle. "Let them come." And beside him, the alien princess reached for the twin blades strapped to her back. No longer alone, no longer afraid. The night cracked open with the whine of plasma cannons and the shriek of Zalari pursuit ships soaring overhead. The escape pod's hull vibrated with the impact of near misses. Wood crouched near the console, typing rapidly with one hand while the other gripped his rifle. "Give me 5 minutes," he muttered. "I can overload the ion dampeners and launch us into the canyon system. It's risky, but it's that or we both get atomized." Sarah stood at his side, blades drawn, her white hair slicked against her cheek with sweat and rain. "You are mad, human." "You're still here," Wood said without looking at her. "So what does that make you?" Her eyes glittered with emotion, something between fear and pride. The princess of a dying race, hunted by her own people, standing shoulder to shoulder with a scrappy, mud-covered human with nothing to lose. The war had stolen everything from them both, except this moment. Suddenly, the roof above them exploded inward. A blast of heat and steel sent both tumbling. Wood shielded Sarah with his body as rubble rained down. The attack squad had arrived, 6 armored Zalari enforcers in gleaming exoframes, their blades vibrating with energy, their rifles trained directly on the pair. "Stand down, traitor princess," barked the lead enforcer. "You've embarrassed your bloodline long enough. That human beside you is beneath the dirt of our empire." Sarah didn't move. Wood stood, bruised, blood trailing from his cheek, and aimed his rifle dead center at the lead. "You want her," he growled. "You come through me." The Zalari hesitated, not out of fear, no, but confusion, disgust, the very audacity of a human standing in defiance of the most elite warriors in the quadrant. Sarah stepped forward. "Then let it be known," she said coldly, "that I stand with him, as warrior, as woman." She tossed her blades into the air, twirling silver arcs, and caught them as the pod's flickering lights reflected in her eyes. "Let's kill them together." Then all hell broke loose. Wood charged left, rifle flashing. Sarah moved like a shadow, slicing with impossible grace. A gunman fell screaming. Another tried to strike Wood from behind, but Sarah was faster, her blade finding his throat. Back to back, blood splattered across armor and violet skin. They fought like they had trained together for years, in sync, fluid, unstoppable. Finally, panting, Wood knelt beside the control panel again. "It's now or never," he said. "You ready?" Sarah's hand slid into his, fierce and trembling. "Launch it." The escape pod erupted from the ground with a roar, leaving behind the dead, the smoke, and the ashes of rebellion. Above it all, the night sky opened like a wound, welcoming 2 fugitives who no longer cared about rules, races, or thrones. They had each other now, and that was more than either of them ever expected. As the escape pod streaked across the fractured sky, the violent tremors began to subside. Flames licked the outer shell, but the atmosphere held, and the autopilot launched them into the canyon's protective shadow. The stars vanished behind jagged cliffs. They were hidden, at least for now. Inside the pod, silence fell, broken only by the hum of the stabilizers and the rasp of Wood's breath. He collapsed into the co-pilot's seat, wiping blood from his temple, grinning despite the pain. Sarah stood in the center of the pod's narrow deck, her white battle garb tattered, her shoulders shaking slightly. She wasn't trembling from exhaustion, but from emotion. "You fought like a Zalari," she said at last, eyes glinting in the dim red light. "No, better." Wood glanced at her with a lopsided grin. "I aim to impress." Her voice cracked with something that might have been a laugh, but quickly softened. "No one has ever done what you did today. Not for me, not even my own kind." She took a slow step forward. "Why, Wood? Why risk your life for a broken princess?" He didn't hesitate. "Because you're not broken. Because when everyone else saw political burden, I saw someone willing to fight. I saw you. And because," he added quietly, "I think I was already falling for you before I even realized it." Sarah's breath caught. In that moment, as the pod descended into the glowing cavern system beneath the planet's crust, she moved toward him, one hand on his cheek, her thumb brushing the dried blood there. "You should know, Zalari do not fall in love easily. But when we do," her voice dropped, lips brushing his, "we don't let go." Their kiss was fierce, desperate, born of war and longing and the knowledge that death might still be hunting them. But it was real, and it changed everything. The pod touched down gently beside a glowing pool in the caverns, bioluminescent moss clinging to the edges, like stars scattered on the floor. A natural shelter. Safe. For now. As they exited the pod, Wood's hand slipped into Sarah's. But safety was temporary. A transmission crackled from the remains of the pod's comm system. "To all Zalari command units, Princess Sarah has violated Protocol 9X, alliance with enemy combatant. Termination authorized. Human designation, Wood. Status, extreme threat. Bounty doubled. Activate orbital sweep." Sarah stiffened. "They're going to scan the surface. They'll find us." "We move," Wood said, pulling her forward. "We find allies. We don't stop." She hesitated, then nodded. "There may be someone I once trusted, an exile, like me. They trekked through the glowing caverns, weapons drawn. Whispers echoed off the walls, strange sounds, perhaps creatures that had never seen sunlight. But they didn't turn back. Until a beam of searing light slammed down from above, collapsing part of the ceiling behind them. Orbital scan initiated. Sarah turned to him. "We run, together." Wood didn't need to answer. They sprinted deeper into the unknown, the glowing M. The winding cavern spilled into an ancient ruin. Overgrown with iridescent vines, the stone etched with forgotten symbols. The air was warmer here, almost electric, as though the place itself remembered what it once was. Sarah paused beneath an archway shaped like a broken crown, her fingers tracing the alien script. "This is a place of the first kind," she whispered. "Before the Zalari were conquerors, we were creators. My ancestors built this." Her voice trembled. Wood scanned the surroundings, his blaster raised. "Is your contact here?" A voice answered before Sarah could. "Was wondering when you'd come crawling back." From behind a ruined column stepped a tall, broad-shouldered alien, his skin the hue of dark copper. One arm replaced by a mechanical limb humming softly with energy. His golden eyes narrowed when they landed on Wood. "You brought him." Sarah stood tall. "He's the reason I'm alive, Karel. You owe me. And you owe the truth to your people." Karel scoffed. "Truth? Princess, the truth died the day you left me for the throne." Wood stepped forward, placing himself between them. Not the time to hash out old flames. "We've got orbital scans hunting us, and I'm pretty sure bounty hunters aren't far behind." Karel's eyes narrowed, then flicked toward the glowing ceiling. "You're right. Follow me." He led them through a series of half-collapsed tunnels until they reached what appeared to be a war room. Maps carved into stone, glowing crystal interfaces, half-buried caches of ancient tech. Other rebels, outcasts like Karel, gathered. Zalari, humans, hybrids. Sarah stepped into the center. "I need your help. The Empire branded me unfit. They left me in a chair and called it mercy. Then they discovered I survived, and that I bonded with a human. Now they want us both dead." A murmur spread, the kind that preceded rebellion. "I don't want a throne," Sarah continued. "I want a fight. For all of us who've been discarded, for every species the Empire crushed. We can stop them. Here, together." Karel folded his arms. "And you think one broken princess and her off-world lover can start a war?" Wood stepped forward, voice low but fierce. "I don't care about politics, but I know one thing. When someone like her chooses to stand and fight, they're not broken. They're dangerous, and I'll be damned if I let her do it alone." A long silence followed. Then Karel smirked. "Still the same fire, Sarah. Fine, I'll gather the clans, but when the killing starts, don't expect mercy." She didn't flinch. "I don't need mercy. I need war." Preparations began at once. Old armor was repurposed, starship fragments rebuilt into drones. Sarah trained relentlessly, pushing her body and mind far past her limits. Wood stood by her side every moment, patching wounds, improving gear, whispering comfort when memories overwhelmed her. One night, beneath the glow of ancient crystal lanterns, Sarah stood atop the ruins, overlooking her growing army. Wood approached quietly. "How are you holding up?" She smiled faintly. "Better than I ever thought possible. I don't know what happens tomorrow, but I know I'm not alone." He wrapped an arm around her waist. "Never will be." She looked up at him. "Promise me something. Anything. If I fall, don't let them twist what I stood for." He touched his forehead to hers. "If you fall, I'll carry your fire into every corner of the stars. But I'm not planning on losing you." Their lips met, not with desperation, but with certainty. Warriors in love, equals bound by battle. Suddenly, an alarm rang through the ruins. Karel's voice echoed, "Empire dropships incoming. They found us." Sarah's expression turned to steel. "Then let them come." She turned to Wood, eyes blazing violet. "Works our stand now." He grinned. "Right behind you, princess." But she shook her head. Not princess anymore, just Sarah. The sky above the ruins split open like a wound. Dropships descended in a cascade of fire and thunder, cutting through the atmosphere with ruthless precision. Sarah and Wood stood side by side, watching death arrive with flashing metal and imperial banners. "3 squadrons," Karel growled, peering through a cracked visor. Elite Royal Guard. They didn't come to talk. They came to erase us, Sarah said calmly, tightening the brace on her exosuit legs. Wood checked the charge on his dual-phase rifle. Let's disappoint them. Sarah's wheelchair had long been replaced with an advanced mobility rig, one she'd helped Karel design. Now, with the neural interface synced, she moved, not like a crippled royal, but like a vengeful storm. Every step she took powered the ground beneath her feet with controlled bursts of violet light. All around them, rebel forces prepared. Creatures from dozens of species, castaways, survivors, warriors, had gathered behind her. Behind them. Not because of a crown, not because of lineage, because of what she had become. Because of who they were fighting beside. The dropships cracked open like claws. Imperial troops poured out, sleek armor, plasma spears, and sonic cannons. The Royal Guard, faceless and ruthless, moved in formation. And behind them strode a towering figure draped in ceremonial black. Varn Zeros, commander of the Empire's Purge Initiative. His voice echoed like thunder amplified. Sarah Valen, last of the broken line. Come forward, surrender your impurity, and I may allow the human to live. Sarah took a step forward. No. Gasps rippled through both sides. She raised her blade, one forged from salvaged Stellari crystal and human alloy. You tried to silence me, you discarded me, but I survived. And now the galaxy will hear what a broken princess can do. Wood stepped up beside her, raising his rifle. And this human? He's not going anywhere. Varn snarled. So be it. Battle erupted. Blaster fires seared the air. Rebels charged, screaming defiance. Mechs clashed midair. Energy shields cracked under the weight of railguns in flame. Sarah moved through it all like a phantom, her mobility rig firing propulsion bursts that launched her above enemy lines. She struck down a Royal Guard with a crackling spin kick, then channeled her suit's energy into a massive ground slam that sent shockwaves through the ruins. Wood fought with unmatched precision, covering her flanks, protecting the wounded, making every shot count. He wasn't a soldier by birth. He became one for her. They were back-to-back in the center of the chaos when Varn descended. He landed like a meteor, slamming Wood across the field with a wave of kinetic force. Sarah rushed in, blades drawn. Still pretending you're one of them? Varn sneered, catching her blade in his hand. You'll always be weak. Always. Her free arm glowed, the energy surge blinding. She slammed it into his chest, activating. The blast flung him backward into a crumbling wall. Sarah dropped to one knee, panting. Her suit sputtered. Wood, limping, rejoined her, gun still in hand. You all right? I bought us seconds. That's all I've got left. Vaharn rose, laughing, his armor fractured but still lethal. Then let this end. Before he could strike, a new sound echoed through the battlefield. The roar of engines. From above, a fleet of rebel craft dropped out of warp, transmitting Sarah's signal to every fringe world. Civilian militias, rogue captains, outlaws. They'd heard her call. Varn looked up, stunned. You've lost, Sarah whispered. The combined fleet opened fire, the ruins lit with purging flame. But it wasn't them who burned. It was the Empire. Vaharn screamed, vanished in light. Silence fell, smoke cleared, and Sarah stood, Wood at her side, looking up at a new dawn. Epilogue. Months passed. The Empire fractured. Her message spread like wildfire across the stars. She declined any throne offered. Instead, she built something else. A place for the cast-off, the different, the dreamers, the new world, and beside her always was the human who never saw her as broken. In a quiet moment, sitting beneath a tree on the green world they'd saved, Sarah looked at him and said, "You changed the galaxy for me." He smiled, brushing her hair back. "No, you just needed someone to remind you you were always enough." She kissed him softly, the battle scars between them, now just echoes of a past that never defined their future.